Hello and welcome to the Toronto Daily News for Wednesday, January the 16th, 2019. So in a collision, 40-year-old pedestrian was run over. This is at Lawrence and Allen. This is early afternoon. The police found the driver, tracked him down. He was driving a dump truck. The guy was crossing with his right-of-way in the crosswalk. Somehow the police don't think that the dump truck driver was even aware of, or they aren't even sure whether he was aware of running over the guy. And so they say they initially thought it was a failure to remain at the scene type of issue, and now they're not sure. And so it's in that's my Vision Zero news for the day. So there is a town hall to discuss the Eglinton Crosstown construction. Metrolinx is thinking about maybe shutting down Bathurst and Eglinton for a while to save some time. They're like, I shut it down for this long, and it'll reduce the construction times by this long. Meanwhile, the community is, of course, really annoyed with the construction and the congestion and stuff like that. And I'm going to editorialize on this by saying, man, every time we try to build something that is going to ease congestion by allowing people to not drive and still get places, what people end up complaining about is, well, cars are so terrible. There's too many of them here. The traffic is too bad, and the driving situation is too bad. It's kind of when we get bike lanes in, people are like, oh, well, there will be cars on the side streets, and we don't want that because cars are so bad. So we can't have the bike lanes because cars are annoying. We can't have the crosstown construction because cars are so annoying. And anyway, a Liberal politician from the Burnaby, BC riding, and this is relevant because she's going up against Jagmeet Singh. She's reaching out to her, her Chinese constituents because she's Chinese, and in Chinese, she says to them, if you vote for me, then we can put somebody who's Chinese in the, federal cabinet and stuff like that, and that would be great. But the thing she's talking about, like adding to the diversity of the cabinet by removing the diversity of the cabinet at the same time, or whatever. So it was kind of a weird positioning thing for her. Well, we can increase our representation because there's more of us than there are of the Indians, I guess was her mentality or whatever. But she is just a bad place. So she's out of the race against Singh. And so this is kind of important because he's in BC. He's advocating for Indigenous rights and stuff like that against pipeline construction. And the NDP is kind of, their support is wavering a bit under his leadership. So having having her knocked out of the running could be good for him. So a weird road rage incident led to one driver clinging to another's car. Guy's driving along, makes it maybe a half block before the guy falls off. This started at Ryerson University with the one guy rear-ending the other guy and then taking off. Guy chases him in his car, gets out. It's they finally have this confrontation at Dundas and George of all places. And so the CTV and Global interviewed the dude who got good video of the whole thing. It looks like he was doing some kind of construction by what he was wearing, and he was apparently going to get some poutine. So check out those CTV and Global interviews with him because it's the road rage situation. I can attest to. Yesterday, people were stressed on the roads. So the voice of ISIS it turns out to be this Toronto guy that has been recently captured by Kurdish forces while they were fighting ISIS. So apparently they've been using him in propaganda videos for years. This guy from Toronto recognized him from their childhood, and CBC interviewed his Toronto friend. the guy, the ISIS guy, his name is Mohammed Abdullah Mohammed. I mean, it's like being called like Jack James Jackson or something like that. No wonder he took on some other name. I'm like, no wonder he took on this other name. Like, it's the R. Kelly's studio got raided around midday at the same time that activists were picketing his record label. This guy is done. R. Kelly, you are done. Creepy loser. Apparently he's using his studio as like a creepy sex place, and that's what they raided today. Did I say his apartment? They raided his studio. So in other ISIS news, this 30-year-old woman who attacked people with a golf club at a Canadian Tire in 2017, she's in court. She's representing herself, and she's saying, well, no, I'm not guilty, but she's also describing like that she attacked people and she intended on killing people in the name of ISIS and blah, 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 blah. And she actually went to tried to go to Syria in 2016, got sort of busted on suspicion of trying to join ISIS, and but they didn't have enough proof or whatever, so she's like out on the loose, and then she goes attacks people. She also had a bow, like an archery bow, on her at the time when she went to the Canadian Tire. Her complaint was, "You kill Muslims." Another page down. And we are left with all 100% pipeline news. So this Angus Reid poll came out, and it shows, surprise, surprise, support for pipelines varies across the provinces. Surprise, surprise, it's about 50-50 in BC. Okay, their question was like, is it a total crisis that we don't have more pipelines? Do we have a critical lack of pipelines? Now, keep in mind, there's pipelines stretching all across Canada. We are pipelined up. You know, it's like, you know, if you have like 2 6-shooters on your belt and AK strapped to your back, you've got a rocket launcher, and you're like, okay, no, this is a crisis because I don't have an AK, I don't have a RPK to do long range, you know, whatever. And I also don't have the, so that's kind of what they mean by crisis. You know, it's like being armed to the teeth, but you want nukes as well, or something like that. So 80% of Albertans and 70% of Saskatchewan and 46% of Quebecers and 50% of British Columbians think it's a total crisis. Vancouver's CBC ran this story on it where they kind of tilted it in this, like making it seem like there was a underestimated amount of support for pipelines or whatever, by talking with this pipeline advocate who's saying, well, the public thinks there's more support for the anti-pipeline people than there actually is because they've got all this high-profile protest activity. And that's just, it's misleading, and the government should do stuff based on public opinion and stuff. But meanwhile, the numbers are like, okay, well, these people don't like it. These people do like it. The numbers don't really paint the same picture as the guy they interviewed, in my opinion. So this is, but check out, you know, Vancouver's CBC Vancouver News for Wednesday, and decide on your own. So Wet'suwet'en Solidarity protest still being held across Canada. I'm sure I'm not aware of a whole bunch of them, but two of them from Wednesday are at the Mississauga First Nation and the Trans-Canada Highway, and an East Van rail crossing. Vancouver, East Van. So yeah, that's the morning after super brief news for Wednesday, and have a great Thursday, and wish me luck with my hair. It's not as bad as the news, but